Hello and welcome to Coffee Talk. Literal coffee talk. I have an actual cup of coffee. By the time this posts, it might still be coffee time on the West Coast, but then it is, Memorial Day, so maybe coffee's not on the menu. Maybe hair of the dog is on the menu. At any rate, over the years, which I can now almost say, because this YouTube channel is almost 2 years old, many of you have asked me how and where and when and why I learned to sing. Most recently, Jet Hamilton. So I thought I'd just kind of sit here and talk a little bit about that. Jet asked twice, so I know he really wants to know. So I'm just going to pretend I'm talking to Jet. I wonder what Jet looks like. He's probably got blue hair. Definitely blue hair. Glasses. He's 4'9", or something ridiculous. Pretending the crowd is naked, I'm pretending Jet Hamilton is 4'9" and has blue hair. All right. Anyways, you guys know well, you might not know this, but I'm a huge Tim Ferriss fan. If you don't know who Tim Ferriss is, I highly recommend looking him up and listening to his podcast and reading his books. One of his sayings is, if you want to learn to do X, go do X. You don't have to take a class and study and blah, blah, blah. If you want to learn to sing, just go start to sing. I remember when, and this is, I'm going to come to a point here, but I remember being 12 specifically. There were like 3 times in my sort of teen years when I was just watching MTV or whatever, and some clip of Eddie Vedder singing. I remember one was Pete Townsend and Eddie singing that song that goes, "Oh, Sally, it's getting bigger every day." You know that one? And I was absolutely consumed with inspiration, and I got up off the couch, made sure nobody was looking, none of my family, and I went to my room and I started to sing and pretend to be Eddie Vedder. So there was a level of like I said, being consumed by inspiration, of obsession, if only for a moment, because really in my high school years, no one knew that I played the guitar. No one knew that I did music at all. I was a baseball player, and I spent most of my time doing baseball, but the guitar would poke through in a very strong way sometimes, and I would start to sing, and boy was I bad. I was so bad. After my first Pearl Jam concert when I was 18, it was almost on my 18th birthday, so it was really cool. Felt like it was a birthday present to me. I went home that night, and I wrote my first song. That was the breakthrough inspiration moment where that's what I wanted to do. It was literally life-changing, and I want to say magical. To me, it was magical. But so I started to write that very night my first couple of songs, and they were terrible. Whatever. This is, if you want to learn to go do X, right? It's not going to be good at the beginning. But if you keep doing it, it's going to get better. So my message here, and I'm going to say it a bunch of times, and then I'm going to get back to my story. My message is, if you want to learn to sing, just start singing. Just start singing. But yeah, so I started a band when I was 18, and our first gig, our first and maybe only gig, we might have had 3 or 4 gigs. Our first gig was at my high school girlfriend, Lindsay, hey Lindsay, her graduation party, and our band was comprised of me, my best friend Bill, who I taught to play guitar just well enough to play the 5 songs that I had written and prepared, Lindsay's uncle, Roddy, who played bass, and the drummer. I was astonished by this at that time, but the drummer was the drummer from another band, and what I didn't realize about being in a band is, if a song's in a time signature, in 4/4 for instance, 1 2 3 4 2 2 3 4, the drummer can just play and throw in a fill once every so often, and it'll be fine as long as he's playing the right speed. He can play the song. It might not be the song, right? You can't do that to a complicated Rush song or many Pearl Jam songs, but many songs you can just go ahead and play the right speed, and you will be playing drums to the song. So I was astonished. I didn't know that. I thought this kid, his name was Paniflo, Paniflo, was this miraculous thing sent from heaven that he could just play in my band. Because I was a noob. I was brand new. I was beginning to learn to do X. But the point was, I have a CD of that performance, and I think my sister has it, and if and when I find it, I will post a short clip of it. It is so bad. I was so nervous. I'd never sung in front of people before. I sounded like a goat. My voice was shaking. Oh God, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. And that's how it's gonna be when you start to do anything, unless you're one of those, you know, like kids. I've had girls, Clara, right? You know Clara, and I've had girls before her, and not so many boys. Why are girls innately have more aptitude for singing? I want to say that just right than boys do, but who it seems that they could sing out of the womb, right? But that's not many people, and for most people, apparently, especially guys, it takes some work. It takes a lot of work. It takes as much work. It took as much work for me to learn to sing decently, more on that in a second, as it did for me to play guitar. And we're talking about I play guitar 30 or 35 or 40 hours a week for 7 years, maybe for 10 years. That's a lot of hours. I don't know what that is. I think it's more than 10,000. And that's what I also sang during that time too. So here we go, more on that. Some breakthroughs with the singing came when I started to try to record my music for the first time, because what happens is you sing into the microphone and then you listen back, right? And what does everybody do when that happens? They go, ooh, oh my God, that's what I really sound like? Okay, first of all, a note on that. When I'm listening to myself talk right now, I am hearing my voice through my body, right? My voice is vibrating my body, and I'm hearing that also through my ears, but also through my body. So there's that. The way I hear my voice is not correct. It's not the way everybody else hears my voice. So the discomfort when you hear yourself recorded is the difference between what you think you sound like and what you actually sound like. It's the difference. Nobody else thinks you sound weird. You're the only person who thinks you sound weird. So once you can realize that fact, it's like when you look in a mirror, two mirrors, right? Like at an angle, and you see yourself and your face is backwards and you're like, bah! That's what I look like? Oh my God. But that's what everyone else sees the whole time. So no one else thinks you look weird. No one else thinks you sound weird. Turn on the microphone, sing a song, listen back. Listen back until you're not uncomfortable. But one thing that will happen during this time is you have tastes, right? You have singers that you like, which means you have inflections you like. You have like the way people use their voice. We've witnessed Eddie change which part of his vocal cords he uses when he sings, right? The old caricature of that was a terrible one, being Eddie. And now it was like the early 10 days he did that mostly, and now he mostly doesn't do that. So over time, he has changed how he's sung, and through listening to yourself and taking note, mentally or literally taking note, what you like and what you don't like, that's how I learned to sing, by recording my music. And I have to say, I think that right now, I am about the best singer that I can be, but I think that's different for everybody. I hold Chris Cornell to be one of the very best male singers ever. I mean, his range and his pitch and his control and his it's just, I will never be able to sing like Chris Cornell, but one thing I can do is be the best singer that I can be. So while I think I am excellent, you know, for me, I have fulfilled my singing potential in my body. How can you say so? When you say, how can I learn to sing? You have to, you can't hope to be Chris Cornell. I can't hope to be Chris Cornell. You have to commit to being the best singer that you can be with your body, and it takes a lot of time. It took so much time. So after recording and listening and changing the way I sing, which happened in college, I made a CD with like 6 songs on it, acoustic guitar and vocals. I had an 8-track, not like the old, you know, music playing thing, but the thing which you record on, which now everyone can do on their computers in multitudinous track, but I had an 8-track that I bought on eBay, and I used it to record a thing, and I was being so freaking throaty, and it was the worst. And so I changed that, because you have a way that you start to naturally sing, and that may or may not be any good, and you need to listen to your own feedback, you need to listen to your friends' feedback, you need to accept the feedback, and also at the same time become comfortable with what you're hearing. You got to do it. The point is you got to do it. You have to do it. The next breakthrough was when I was teaching, because when I teach, I sing a lot. And so this is when it came to building up my like endurance and muscle, so to speak, and force, because I'm now singing a couple hours a day, you know, every day of the week. That's a lot of singing. And at first my voice got tired, and after a while, after years, it got stronger and stronger. And I don't remember what exactly the thing was that happened. I'm going to take another sip of coffee. I don't remember the thing that sort of marks me remembering this, but I remember around 25 or 26 or 27, I started to feel like I could for my definition of me being the best singer I could be, I could belt. And yeah, that's how. And now, you know, I think now we're 7 years after that, right? We're 8 years after that, and I have continued to sing a couple hours a day, shouting over children. Experience in the recording studio is huge, because when it's like the pressure's on. It's the red light syndrome, right? If you can get through the red light syndrome, which is you're singing great until the record button gets hit. And I experience this. I go to my friend Rob, and the stuff you hear on Spotify from me is all me and Rob's studio. It takes a long time for some people. For me, it did. It took me like 9 more months then from the time I started going to Rob every week, or every other week rather, until the time I was comfortable with just the record button being put on. And you'll find that too, that's a thing that you have to get over. And once you do, then you'll feel so much more relaxed. Like the way, you know, the first dozen times I turned on this thing, I was like a deer in the headlights. I think that's the way I felt. I don't know how it came across, but you're going to see the same thing with your singing. You're going to see, if you go try to perform, same adjustment. The first half dozen times you perform, you're going to be shaking like I was. You're going to sound like a goat, or maybe not. I noticed that kids don't feel nervous these days. Or maybe just kids of all time and ages haven't felt nervous, and they learn sort of self-consciousness at some age, probably teenagers, I guess. Maybe it's not these days at all. But at any rate, so yeah, all these little angles. You know, the red light syndrome is just like you know, sports performance. You're really great at hitting balls until, I'm talking about baseball now, not golf. Shocker. Really great at hitting baseballs until it's game time, right? Because then it counts all of a sudden. It's the same thing with singing in the shower versus singing with your friends. So if I were to prescribe for you, Jet, I should look down here because you're 4'2". I don't mean anything by that, by the way. If I were to prescribe, Jet, to you what to do, if you want to learn to go do X, go do X. Attack it from singing in the shower, attack it from singing in front of your friends, attack it from singing into a microphone and listening back and seeing what you like and what you don't like. And you got to put time into it. It was this insurmountable burst of inspiration after my first Pearl Jam concert that led me to spend all this time. I had no innate talent for singing. It was all really, 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 really hard, embarrassing work. But you guys are seeing me now after all that, right? So you might look at me and say, "Oh wow, this guy can hit a pitch." I'm not going to say I'm a fantastic singer, but I can hit a pitch. That's not subjective. That is objective, right? So he must have always been able to do that. Not the case. I've been so bad. I'm even going to find an example of it, and I'm going to post it someday. I think my sister has it. And then I have an example of me singing from my next band, which was a little less bad. That was my college band, right? And then I have my early recordings in California, which is a little less bad. And then we have even the beginning sessions with Rob, which is quite a bit less bad. A lot of time has passed, but from those recordings to my newest recordings with Rob, which by the way are just all in a holding pattern because I'm, you know, moving, etc. But I'm totally going to get back into that. And by the way, PPS, for all those who have listened to those, I really appreciate it. It's such an honor to be able to do my my passion project for people, for you. You're just the best. Okay, what was I saying? Oh yeah, even from the beginning of the Rob sessions, which started 2 Octobers ago, to the last ones, my singing got even all that much better, and what I'm really excited for is having a studio spot in my basement in my new place, which we know where it is, by the way. We got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe 4 more videos on the porch here, and no, the missus didn't kick me out, because we're just still here in this temporary housing. Yeah, having my own space where I can be really, really comfortable in my own space. Front of a microphone rather than at somebody else's studio on their time. I can do it whenever it strikes me, so that'll be another level maybe for me. But yeah, the point of this whole ramble was, if you want to learn to go do X, go do X, go do it. Not 1 hour a week, a lot of hours per week. Not that everyone has the time to be singing several hours per day, seriously, right? But do we really not? I mean, how much time do we waste drinking beer and watching TV? How much really time do we waste doing that? I know, I'm certainly not 100% innocent of that charge. So yeah, something to think about. It takes time, patience, effort, consistency. Look up Tim Ferriss. Thank you guys for being here. We're gonna do more coffee talks because, as you know, I'm doing like a video every day here, so we're gonna need to break it up. I have a fun plan. I'm gonna unveil it to you when I move into my new space, and that's it. That's all I have to say about this at this moment. I'm sure I'm gonna think of something I meant to say, and I'm gonna darn it. But as for now, that's all I got. So thank you so much for being here. If you were having coffee with me, please let me know. Cheers. Goodbye.